after 9, and we'll get into a roundtable discussion this morning. I have my guest ready now for the conversation. Now, today we're looking at what has been happening in the economy generally. Now, for months, our inflation story has been one of the brighter spots of the economy, and we've been able to see inflation come down again to 4.6%. Which is giving households, businesses, and policymakers some room to breathe. But there's another number that is making people sit up, which is the price of fuel. Now, global oil prices have been trending lower, but renewed uncertainty in the international market has brought some volatility back into the picture. And so here at home, government has responded with a 2 Ghana cedis reduction in the price of diesel, offering some immediate relief to motorists and businesses. But the bigger question is what happens next? Because fuel is not just about what you pay at the pump. It feeds into transportation, food distribution, manufacturing, logistics, and even the cost of doing businesses. So could renewed pressure on fuel prices begin to chip away at the gains we've made on inflation? And if with inflation now at 4.6%, should we be celebrating the disinflationary story? Or should we be looking maybe more carefully at the risk that could derail it? And this morning, that's what we want to talk about. My guest is John Che. He's a financial analyst, and he joins me over the phone lines for this conversation. John, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Hammond, and good morning to all your listeners.
Yeah. Good to have you this morning. Thank you so much for making time. I hope you're well.
Yes, I'm doing very well. And I think government has been listening to, I'm sure some of us, and intervening at the right
Yes.
time. And I think it's a good thing for us.
That's true. I mean, the last time we spoke, when we spoke about these fuel prices, you actually called for government to intervene. And I think the same day or the next day, we saw government intervene. Okay, I think it's the same day. It was Monday. So the same day, we saw government later in the day intervene with the 2 Ghana cedis reduction. We'll talk about that and whether that is even sufficient or even enough, and what that could also mean. We'll probably touch on that very soon. But we have inflation at 4.6%. But at the same time, we are watching fuel prices also, go up. When you put these two developments side by side, what should we be paying attention to?
Yes, I think it's a good thing that inflation has started easing again. I think since March we saw inflation picking up gradually, and some of us were worried, okay, because it was around 3.1, we moved to about 5.3, and that became a very serious issue, which was strengthening, our goal of moving from stability to growth. But I think July is also showing that, there's hope. I think what we can really attribute to the fall in inflation for July numbers is basically one fuel price and decreasing in July, especially at the start of the month. We saw fuel price easing significantly. Then if you also go into the food inflation, you realize that the price of goods and price of food items like garden eggs, contaminant, and all those things were falling. So, it's a good thing. The only problem is that, in recent weeks, we realized that fuel price was seriously picking up significantly, and that was a great worry. So when you look at the two, the easing inflation is good. Because at least it's giving us hope that we are not, the inflation is not out of control. It's still within our reach. Okay, just that the current, fuel price increment is a risk that we need to pay attention to. And I'm glad government is, is coming in. And I think I mentioned earlier that, this is just going to be a temporary rise. And I made it clear, from my last submission, that whatever we are experiencing as far as the fuel price hike is concerned, it will always be temporary, because it's just the shifting, narrative around the Iran-US war that is driving this. And I think since I mentioned that within that same week, we saw fuel price significantly reducing. So clearly, it's me, especially at the world stage, which suggests that, the next pricing window, I'm expecting fuel price to reduce significantly, and the government can come back and bring the 2 cedis back for us to be on track. So as far as the price movement is concerned, and as the volatility is due to the narrative around US-Iran war, it is always important for government to intervene. And once it is over, they take it out. And I think that will help us, subdue inflation and help us achieve our targets.
I see. Is there a danger that we become too comfortable with the 4.6? I want us to stay on the inflation for some time. Then we can look at the fuel as well. Then we touch on the intervention of governments. So, is there a danger that we become too comfortable with the 4.6% figure and maybe underestimate the risks that are building under it?
Yes, it is possible. But you see, the good thing is that I feel, this current government, if you look at, the physical and the monetary, it looks like they are, they are, they are following the numbers keenly. And that is why you always see government coming in when things are going bad. Okay, yeah. So I don't think government as a player is just comfortable that I've achieved 3.1, so I'm just going to say there. If not, it was as far as the fuel price is increasing, they will allow it. Because the impact on inflation is not really significant, so it's not something to worry about. Okay, but as far as the government is keenly monitoring and intervening at the right time, and the fiscal and the monetary also working together to make sure things are doing great, it clearly shows that they are not just watching, they are not being comfortable with the numbers, and I think the objective of, I'm sure, they're even thinking of revising the inflation target that we have, plus or minus 2 of the 6, maybe they feel plus or minus 2 of 8, maybe they feel we can go lower in order to, remember, the ultimate goal is to drive lending rate to a single number. I think this goal has been their target, and for them to be on course, inflation must always sit below 5% so that they can comfortably push the lending rate within that bracket. So I'm not sure government is just, and you see, the point is that it is not like prices of products are falling. People are still seeing significant increase in food prices. People go and buy kenke, they go and buy fish, they go and buy rice, and it's going up. So in terms of the ordinary feeling, is people expect price to actually fall. If you look at the demand of the citizens, it looks like they are looking forward seeing price of products going down. And I think that's what the government objective is, also to make sure life become comfortable and cost of living reduces. So I'm not sure they are comfortable with the 4.6. Maybe they even want it to go further down in order to actually get to a point where price of products will actually fall for the ordinary people to enjoy the numbers. Because if I walk on the streets, people are saying, but we don't eat inflation. Prices are still going up. When I go and buy this, I'm still seeing price increments. Are you getting it? Yeah. So I'm not sure government is comfortable with the 4.6, and therefore they have relaxed. I still feel they are looking forward to finding ways to drive the price down further.
I see. All right, so that's very important. But would you describe the current situation as a contradiction? The fact that we're seeing inflation at 4.6% and we're also seeing fuel prices going up, or both things perfectly are capable of happening at the same time?
So you see, I think the issue is that if you realize, the fuel price increments just started around getting to the end of, getting to 20th of July to 31st. So you could see that from the 1st July to 20th, prices were actually declining. I think it was declining at a very fast pace, which we were all celebrating. Okay, and looking at how inflation is determined, the way they accumulate the numbers, they look at the average price for the month. And so that is why if you look at the average price for the month, you still see maybe the price not too high like the current level. But getting to August, if let's say the price will remain like this and continue to rise, then August inflation will pick up significantly. So it is not really a contradiction. It is more about the time period that the increment started, which was around late July. And that is why we are not seeing a significant impact on the inflation numbers.
Right. Now, we spent a lot of time talking about disinflation. I mean, Ghana's disinflation story. I mean, right from the beginning of last year towards now, we've been talking about that. At 4.6% now, are we at a point where the conversation should shift from how do we bring inflation down to how do we keep it there?
I think, you see, one thing we need to appreciate is that inflation at a point increased about 52%.
Yes.
Which means that, you see, we need to work on bringing that 52% down to, let's say, 0%. So that maybe we start from before 2022 levels. What it means is that even the current inflation that we're experiencing is not all that good, because let me give you a typical example. Assuming that maybe there have been a significant increase in your cost of living, let's say by about 80%, and then it starts, moving up by 432, you can still see that if you look at the compound effect, it looks like your cost of living is still becoming high. It's still rising. Are you getting it? So it should get to a point where we come back to the pre-2022 levels so that inflation now pick up gradually. So what I'm trying to say is that looking at where we were in 2022, this inflation numbers is not something we can celebrate, because the point is that we rose so high because of our economic problems. The inflation picked up so significantly to the extent that prices of Milo, if you look at before 2022, if you go and buy Milo, you see the price, let's say it's around 16 cedis, 17 cedis. Now it's about 50 cedis. So even if the Milo is rising 50, 51, it's still high. Right. You get it? So we need to be able to come below the 2022 levels before we can celebrate. If we are not able to come below the 2022 levels, then it looks like we are still managing that high price that happened in 2022 within a particular bracket. And so I don't think, we need to celebrate, because it's just maybe by comparison that you are seeing inflation is not picking up so much like what happened in 2022. So I don't think we should still be,
But I'm checking the inflation numbers for 2022 January, and that was 13.9.
Yes, 13.9. Yeah. And you look at, that was January 2022.
Yes.
Now, if you go down to December, I think the December is where we experienced that high, around, I think, July as a 54%. Yes. So you see, what it means that within 1 year, we saw inflation pick up by about 54%. And that needs to, be resolved. That problem in 2020 needs to be resolved. So you can see that from 2020 to 2023, inflation pick up again. Yeah. Maybe let's say by 22%, 2024, it's pick up again. And 2025 is picking up slowly. So it means that we are still not, below the 2022 levels. We are still rising, just as the rising is not, going like what happened previously.
Right.
Let me make it, ordinary language. Let's say something in 2022 worth, let's say, 100 cedis. And at the end of the year, it has gone to 150 cedis. That is 50% inflation, right? Now, if, let's say, it gets to 150 and year on year is going to, let's say, 160, 170, if you calculate the inflation rate, you realize that the inflation rate is very, it's moving slowly. But prices are still rising, which is still above the 2022 figures. Remember, the 2022 was an extraordinary year where problems escalated. So if you really want to, bring people back to, where they were, to improve their cost of living, then we must find a way to bring maybe price below the 150 to, let's say, 140, and then start picking up again. That is where you really see people life improving in terms of their cost of living and their standard of living. If not, and we are just happy with, we have single number, so every year is going, and maybe it's just increasing by a single number, so you should celebrate. No, we have not reached there yet. And that's the point that I want to make.
I see. All right, John, please hold on for me. Let me announce the lines. Well, if you just tune in, this is Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Nitrebi Hammond. And this morning, we're talking about fuel costs. We're talking about inflation and also the cost of living in this country and whether we should be worried. If you want to join the conversation, you can do that. Feel free to send us a WhatsApp on 0544 321019, 0544 321019. Or you can call us on 030 39 56641, 030 395661, and then we give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with us this morning. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH, and on YouTube we're at Z Multimedia. Please drop a comment under the live stream and we'll read every single one of them for you. All right, so John, let's continue the conversation. Let's talk about fuel now. At what point does or maybe just before we come to fuel, let me stay on inflation for a few seconds. What are the biggest threats to that stability sort of that we have seen right now?
Yes, I think there are three main issues that even the statistician mentioned that we need to pay attention to. The first one is rent. It looks like, I don't know, still the rent issue is, becoming a big problem for us. I don't know how the rent space is being regulated. You see, the way that if you look at fuel, the regulator is in full charge. Can seriously influence the pricing. It looks like the rent space, or let's say the housing space, the private owners are having total freedom to do whatever they like. I don't know why we can't have a situation where maybe house owners must submit their, like the way those in the oil and gas space, we submit our pricing to NPA for approval. And if, let's say, NPA go around and see different prices, you'll be sanctioned. And so, and it's working effectively, all right? But it looks like the housing space, or the landowners can increase their prices at any point in time. And because there's shortage, if you don't want it, somebody will buy or will rent. So the rent space is significantly impacting our inflation, which we really need to have a conversation. Government says we are doing housing, maybe affordable housing, but if you look at the price of the affordable housing schemes, it's preserved for the rich. I don't know if I'm right. So that is one serious issue. In fact, it was even one of the drivers of the July inflation. Then another thing is also transport costs, and the transport cost is coming from fuel price. So as for that aspect, we are hoping that the global tensions will go down. I think the last time we discussed about reserves and all that, and I think I last week too, I had a lot of conversations from experts talking about maybe how we can build reserves and a whole lot of things. And so, but personally, I believe we need to own our oil fields. I think we have to find a way to. Now, I think the last time I was even suggesting, why can't we raise bonds? Because these places are more economic viable. So if you raise bonds, you can pay back. So because you see, if you don't own the oil fields, what happens is that the tallow oil, the Aker Energy, and all those people, they are being managed by foreign investors and companies, and they decide their fate. So you don't really have too much control about the amount of oil you can retain, even refine, as far as the thermal oil refinery is concerned. So we need to look at that, as far as the transport cost is concerned. And education, it looks like now in recent times, education too is driving our inflation. Okay, despite the free SHS, it looks like the private schools are still charging high rates. I don't know why maybe that is the case. And so these three areas, if we need to tackle it head on, and if you're able to do that, I think and we'll be able to manage inflation. And when it comes to food inflation aspect, most of it is more of the seasonal nature. I think in recent times, you see that price like contemporary garden eggs, the prices have really come down. But if you go to fresh tomatoes, there are mangoes, and I think the last time I mentioned that, you see, for it to reduce the impact on you as a consumer, always, shift to the ones that prices are declining. If mango prices are pawpaw prices have been falling, and pawpaw is a very good product for all of us. It heals a lot of things. So we can shift to pawpaw, we can shift to some of the products that the price have come down to reduce the inflationary impact on our spending. It's very important to do so. So once we're able to tackle some of these issues, I'm sure we will largely subdue inflation in the long run and focus on growth as far as the economy is concerned.
I see. Okay, let's talk about fuel now. We know that fuel prices have been it's been a problem, for the past few days, especially for motorists. At what point do you think that the level of increase or the duration of the high fuel prices will begin to affect the economy generally, the macroeconomic space generally?
Yes, yes. So you see, the good thing is that, as I mentioned earlier, you realize that is the narrative behind the US-Iran war driving the price, which is making the price very volatile. At any point in time, Trump can say something and price have to reflect that. And in recent time, it looks like they are looking at peace than, war. So you see price declining sharply even last week. Okay, so I think if it persists for, let's say, 2 weeks, assume maybe the world for a crude oil price is increasing over 2 weeks period without a stop. We see always going up for the last 2 weeks. Then that is really going to affect our S-pump prices. In that case, government intervention is on the back that everything happening is temporary. So they feel when they intervene, it's not really going to affect them much. And they have been very clever the way they intervene. Normally, they shift the blame to the oil marketing companies. So they don't take something that significantly impact their tax revenue. They look at another aspect that, doesn't come to them and reduce that. And most often, it rather affects the oil marketing company. I believe the oil marketing companies will have the muscle to overcome. And they overcame in June, so normally May. So normally, I'm really sure they will do that. Okay, but if, let's say, the increment become very persistent over 2 weeks and the war is heightening at a very, alarming rate, then clearly the impact, governments cannot continue to, intervene. You realize that OMCs will start complaining, especially as it's affecting their working capital. They will start complaining. They will start seeking for audience with government and a whole lot of things. And maybe at the end, government in a quest to help them will have to allow things to flow like how the market is behaving. Okay, so in that case, then that's really going to impact, the transport sector significantly. And that will even drive, prices, our transport costs. You will see truck drivers now increasing their fares and all that. But as far as the current circumstances is concerned, I don't think we'll get to that point, okay? I'm very sure that, our next pricing window price will come down because we have seen the crude oil price falling by over 10% in just 1 week, okay? So, so I really believe that prices will start falling as far as, the statistics are concerned. Except maybe there's a renewed tension and things are getting crazier. And I think personally, I always believe that as far as the U.S. midterm election is is coming, I don't think Trump will want gas prices to stay high because that will affect the Republicans significantly because it was his promise that, he will reduce gas prices significantly. And I think it's just the war that is, affecting the price. So I'm sure they are more keen in, stopping the war. So, and that should bring us some relief as far as the global tensions are concerned.
I see. Now, let's look at the 2 cedi intervention that has been made by government. From an economist or, investor's perspective, how should we read that intervention?
Yes. So you see, it got to a point where fuel price moved to 19. So it was nearly 20. Some of the filling stations, some of the OMCs like Total Energies, they were charged about 19 point, 67, 69, the rest. So we're near, 20 as far as diesel prices are concerned. So it was very, very important for government to intervene. And if you look at the trend, you realize the prices were still increasing within that week. So I'm sure the OMCs were still thinking of adjusting prices upwards. And that is why it was very, very significant at that point for government to bring it down again. The issue is, I think governments has taxed NPA to do this, and NPA is looking at something that will not significantly impact government revenue, and therefore that will go into the UPPF. So is OMCs that are really going to suffer from some of these reductions, because you see, when that happens, normally the way we pay our taxes, we are giving 1 month to pay the taxes, and we use these monies as working capital. So once government is taking that out, then it means that you must find the money to support your operations at this crucial moment. So its impact will largely affect the oil marketing companies, okay, in this short period that this reduction has come to stay. But I think in their minds, it's not going to last for long. We believe it's just maybe going to be for one pricing window. So we are not really going to be concerned. And I think that is one thing we need to appreciate. So maybe the OMCs are the people who need to, find a way to show up their working capital for this immediate term to cover that 2 cedis reduction. I don't think government will suffer more from this.
How does the 2 CD reduction work? Government says let's reduce it by 2 CDs. How does it work really?
Yes.
I don't know if you can break that down.
Yes. So you see, government has imposed some flat taxes on let's say diesel prices. So for example, for every liter you buy, the taxes on it is 4.27. Now that 4.27 consists of different kinds of taxes. So we have the one that goes to the transportation, we have the ones that go to MP, we have the one that goes to customs and the rest. So normally, once they take out the 2 cedis, normally they will take the 2 cedis from maybe, let's say, the UPPF. Because the UPPF, when I say UPPF, I'm talking the transport, so that fuel prices will be the same across the country. Okay, so those monies are normally given to transporters, so that when you go to Bogatanga, wherever you are, you can buy fuel at the same price. So mostly that component is 90 pesos. So some of this reduction normally goes into that. So they will take the 90 pesos away. When they take the 90 pesos away, what is the government is now going to pay the 90 pesos. So it's not the consumer who is paying the 90 pesos. Government will give money to the OMCs, okay, for them to pay the transporters. But the way the 90 pesos work, it's work in such a way that government normally gets surpluses to save, because you see, it is when you transport the oil to far places that costs you high. But if you are transporting Accra, Kumasi, it's close, so that cost is low. So that 90 pesos that government charges every time you buy fuel, they're able to save significant portion of it. So in that case, doing some of these interventions, they bring this money to support, government. And there are also some other taxes, like maybe the customs, that will also suffer, let's say, 1 cedi reduction. So it's just the total taxes that, they are going to reduce it, which in effect, maybe the overall impact will be the 1 cedi 10 pesos on government revenue.
Okay.
But they are willing to sacrifice this just to remember they are more focused on stability, because look at gold board operations, how it's costing Bank of Ghana, but they are still doing it just to make our life easier, to reduce cost of living. So government is willing to, sacrifice all these things just to, make our life better. Because the point is that if you say, okay, I'm not going to do it, and people are going to, you see, when cost of living is going up, in the side effect is that inflation too is taxes. So when you are experiencing inflation, high inflation, it's also another form of taxes you are imposing on your consumers or on your citizens. So maybe the best way is that then instead of me imposing the taxes on them, let me relieve them of those taxes. And that's where the intervention is coming from.
Right.
So it's a whole lot of, how do we even call it, trade-off that government is trying to engage in as far as this intervention is
is
concerned.
concerned. But if global oil prices continue to remain elevated, do you think the government, I mean, or how much room does
No, no, no,
government
no,
actually have to
no,
keep
no, no, no.
intervening at the
No,
pump?
no. I think if it continues to elevate, it gets
Mm,
to a point government can't do anything about it, right? That's why I'm saying that you see the government intervention. All of us are advising government to intervene. The reason we are asking government to intervene at this moment is because what we are seeing is that whatever is happening is temporary, and I
mm,
don't think you should allow temporary problems to have a long-term impact on
impact.
your economy.
Right.
That is the reason why some of us, I mean, we financial analysts and other policy analysts are advising government to always intervene with the hope
Mm,
that it's temporary. If it wasn't temporary problem, there's no way I'm going to ask
to
government
go
to
for that.
intervene, because then you are asking government to sacrifice so much over a long period of time, which in effect will come back to bite us. Are you getting it?
Mm,
But they hope that all these interventions are as a result of something that is not natural, something that is artificially created from a global conflict, which the narration continues to change. All right. So, and therefore, that narration or that narrative from these leaders continue to shape oil price. So, don't allow it to have a significant impact on your economy. Because the point is, see, an economy runs in such a way that if it goes beyond a particular point, it's difficult to bring it back into the long-term equilibrium. So
mm,
normally you don't allow those short-term disruptions to significantly impact your numbers and makes you make bad decisions, which will largely impact your growth, intentions that you have over the long term. Okay,
mm,
so in order to solve some of these problems, you must intervene. The US is not only Ghana that is intervening.
right.
Europe countries to have been intervening
Okay.
in gas prices. Even US is also intervening because they all understand that whatever is happening is a temporary problem. Just, world powers, fighting,
Mm,
which we believe will not last for long.
for long. I see. So let me just announce the lines one more time, then we can wrap up here. All right. So if you just tuned in, this is Business Breakfast on Z101.9 FM with me, Nichwebi Hammond. This morning, my guest is John Che. He's a financial analyst, and we're talking about fuel prices, the high fuel prices. We're talking about uh, inflation trending downwards and the cost of living generally, and whether we should be worried about it. And so you're free to join the conversation. Send us a WhatsApp on 0544 321019 0544 321019, or you can call us on 030 39 56641 and then we give you the opportunity to ask your questions or make your comments this morning. You can send us a WhatsApp. You can also engage us on our social media platforms. We're streaming live on Facebook at ZFMGH, and on YouTube we're at Z Multimedia. Please drop a comment, and I'm happy to read them for you this morning. Right, John, let's continue. So, apart from intervening in the quest to protect consumers, I understand that there are other interventions such as protecting the broader fiscal position. Which if you
Yes.
are advising government today, apart from what they've done, I mean, let's say if prices continue to elevate, would you what would be your what do you think interventions should look like?
Yes, I think the last time I called for a broader transparency
Mm,
as far as the BD pricing is concerned. I think I cited an example where fuel price even got to $110 per barrel.
mm,
We didn't seriously, experience something like this, which
mm,
is currently happening. Okay, if you look at even exchange rate, every exchange rate is largely stable. So then the point is, what is really driving, high and frequent, adjustments in BDC prices. And I think that place need to be really looked at.
mm,
Okay. Because we have seen this before happening in February, March, and price even rose more than what was currently happening. In fact, in the current terms, the highest that price has gone is about $90. But we are seeing a significant jump in prices by BDC. So I think there should be more transparent. Government, MPA, and government must, find a way and investigate So that maybe it's possible the BDCs need help, whether maybe insurance cost is what is driving it, or maybe because of the Strait of Hormuz and shipping risks. It's
Yeah.
possible the insurance industries have have significantly increased their insurance premiums. Okay, or it's also possible that maybe because of the disruption, some countries are trying to reserve their oil, so it's becoming difficult for the BDCs to buy fuel. Maybe that may be. So there's a need for government to really, sit down with the BDCs to appreciate their problems so that they can be of help. If it's about the exchange rates issues, nowadays government has a lot of, international reserves. If they need to assist in that regard, they should assist to reduce the ex-refinery price, because that is what is significantly impacting the ex-pump price. Because currently we have not seen any adjustment in taxes. As far as fuel prices are concerned, from the government side, you get it. And so I think that needs to be looked at. And building reserves, it's very necessary and very important. Looking at, the dynamics happening in the world. It's about people are complaining we don't have enough storage capacities and all that. But maybe there's a time. And I think I've called for, we also, you see, we must see
Hello. Hello.
oil
Hello, John. Sorry,
as a
John.
national security problem.
John, I think we've lost you for a few seconds. You said we must do what?
I was saying that we must also see oil as a national security concern. Do you get it? I think when we see it as a national security, when I say national security, we must see it as something that can strengthen our survival as a nation. Okay, we must see fuel, or let's say oil, as something that can
I'm not.
our
Hello, John.
survivor.
Hello, John.
When we say that way.
Hello, John. Hello.
Sorry. Yes, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Please,
yes,
can you hear me?
The line
Yes,
was
can you
the
hear me? I
line
can
was
hear you.
breaking. Yes, the line was breaking. So you might have to take that
Sorry.
again. I want to get you very well, and then we can go.
All right,
You said we should see it as a national security threat.
That,
Yeah.
Yes, I think we should see fuel as national security threat so that we treat it with all the attention that it needs. For example, you see, when you see something as a national security threat, normally you want to hold enough. You want to, whether at the upstream sector, the midstream, or the downstream, you want to have control over it, especially the upstream. Okay, so that you can build enough reserves, like the way we are building enough international reserves to show up our exchange rate. And we should also see fuel as a national security concern. Because remember, if there's a shortage right now, you will see the chaos that will bring. When you see prices galloping, people will start complaining, people will start demonstrating. That is why I'm saying that we must see, fuel as a national security challenge or problem, which needs all the attention it deserves. So that we own some of our refineries, we own some of our oil fields, and strategically build reserves to cushion us in some of these times. It's very crucial we do that. Okay, so that we protect ourselves from this global shocks that significantly impact our fuel price and make all of us wonder how long it will last.
All right, John, maybe my last question to you will be, the import of this conversation, really. So basically, what are we saying? Inflation at 4.6%, falling global oil prices overall, but renewed uncertainty in the market, and government stepping in with the 2 cedis diesel reduction. How worried should we be?
I think the good thing is that if you look at the global front, especially the global crude oil price, we see over the last week declining, which means that we are not really going to, and we are in August, right? We just started August, and by I don't say if I should say by God's grace, prices have started falling. So what it means is that we shouldn't be too worried about the inflationary outlook. I think things will calm down, and I believe that inflation can even come down in August again, for us to realize our monetary policy objective and the economic growth potential that we are trying to, build at this moment to create employment for everybody and to make our cost of living reduce and standard of living improve. Okay, so and as I mentioned earlier, government must always
Hello?
watch
Hello? Hello,
study
John?
the fuel market.
Hello, John?
Hello, please can you hear me? Yeah, I can
Yes, you
hear
said
you.
government must do something and then we lost you. So maybe you can repeat that part.
Yes, so I was saying that government must continuously monitor the development and intervene when necessary. Always intervene when necessary, knowing very well that it's not going to be a permanent or a long-term problem. All right. Once we're able to resolve all these issues, I think our economy will continue to, be on the path of growth for all of us to realize the benefit from it.
Hmm. John, thank you very much for your time. I'm really grateful that you joined me this morning. Hopefully, we get to speak again soon.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right. Please do enjoy the rest of your day. All right. So that was John Che. He is a financial analyst, and we spoke about fuel prices. We spoke about inflation and also the government intervention and the cost of living generally. And he says that there are things that we still need to do. I mean, broadly, in terms of our fiscal position as a country, and also in terms of some of these interventions. But one thing that he said is that if the fuel prices continue to, go up, it might be difficult for government to intervene again. And so we just hope and pray, and try to work on long-term things that will help shield our economy from some of these global uncertainties that we continue to experience. And so that is that for our conversation for today, and that's how we wrap up today here on a business breakfast on Z101.9 FM. I want to say thank you to my guest John Che, financial analyst. Thanks so much for joining us, and also thank you to you for also making time to join us right from 6:15 until now. We're really grateful. We're back again tomorrow for some more conversations. Yes, very important conversations coming up throughout the week. Right at exactly 6:15 tomorrow, we'll be back again for some more conversations. Until then, please keep listening to Z101.9 FM, and I'll see you tomorrow. My name is Nitrebi Hammond. Up next is The Brighter Side with Jeremy Okoria Mwako. Please do well to stay tuned. Bye bye.